everyone, I am Cheyenne and welcome back to the Petronas plant room. Today is kind of a big step for me in my pest treatment process. I am going to be applying beneficial nematodes for the first time to help treat my thrips problem in my collection. I've done a lot of research on these, but I haven't personally used them before. So we're going to be learning together today. I'm using these nematodes here. Let's see if I can get it to, there we go. They are from FGMN Nursery. I have been ordering my beneficials from them for a little while now. But today is my first time using these nematodes, and we are going to just learn how to do that together. I first noticed thrips on a few of my plants around mid-September. At that point, I was in the middle of packing for a move and working full-time, so I didn't really have time or energy to treat them properly. At first, I was just wiping down the leaves when I could using a diluted rubbing alcohol with a touch of lavender castile soap mixed together, just trying to slow things down and get rid of as many adult thrips as possible until I could properly treat them. But those treatments were pretty inconsistent and thrips reproduce really quickly. So by the time I was able to really focus on it around November, they had spread to over half of my collection, and that's when I started being more, intentional with my treatments and really focusing on that because I had some availability open up over the winter. I was spraying more regularly, about weekly or bi-weekly, using Captain Jack's dead bug spray, along with cycling the just alcohol and castile soap mixture to keep up with the adult thrips. And I was also cutting back heavily infested leaves and vines to try and stop the adults from laying eggs and infesting further, because those guys do lay their eggs inside of plant tissue and then they drop into the soil to pupate from there. So even if I was killing off the adults on the leaves, I would still get new waves of them coming back because of the life cycle. So I felt like I was managing it but never fully getting rid of them. Then in about mid-March, I decided to introduce beneficial mites. I went with, they are the Amblyseius swirskii, I believe. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I applied some directly to the plants and also used some slow-release sachets for ongoing prevention. That did seem to help again, especially with controlling the larvae and preventing explosion of new thrips. But I'm still seeing some activity on some of my more heavily infested plants, especially my monsteras, spider plants, and philodendrons. It really seems like those were my the favorites for the thrip infestation. They seem to just really like those ones. So at this point, I wanted to add something that targets the part of the life cycle happening in the soil, and that's where the nematodes come in. So you may be asking yourself, what are beneficial insects and what do they do? Well, today I will tell you about the ones I am using, but in general, beneficial insects are mites that you can, or nematodes or anything else like that you can use to get rid of other pests and predatory insects that will hurt your plants, such as thrips and fungus gnats and mealybugs and aphids and anything like that. Today I'm mostly just focusing on treating thrips because that is my biggest problem. I don't really have any other pests right now that I know of, but this will at least help with the biggest problem. So today I'm using beneficial nematodes, which are microscopic organisms that live in the soil. They are actually naturally occurring and they hunt and feed on soil-dwelling pests. For houseplants, they're especially helpful for things like fungus gnat larvae and thrips during soil stages, and some other insects that tend to live in the soil. So when thrips drop into the soil to pupate, the nematodes can target them there and before they become adults and cause more problems. The type I am using today are the Steinernema feltiae nematodes, which is one of the most common ones for indoor use. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I'm still learning the names for all of these. They're active in moderate temperatures and do really well in potting soil. And one thing I do like using about beneficials like this is that they're non-toxic, safe for pets, and safe for my plants. And they kind of work with the environment instead of against it. The beneficial mites I used earlier are called Amblyseius swirskii, I believe, and they work a little bit differently. These guys live on the plant leaves themselves and the stems and feed on, things like thrips larvae that are up above and other small pests like on the actual leaves. And so my goal right now is to kind of do a layered approach. The mites are going to help control what's happening on top of the plant, and the nematodes are going to help target what's going on in the soil, so together they can try and break the life cycle a little better. And we're going to see how that goes today. I am going to be going ahead and doing the nematodes that we have here that I showed you. Let's see if I can focus that. There we go. There's about 25 million of them in there, and I'm going to mix those into water and apply them. And then we also have some of this Breeder's Blend. You can see that. And this will be to help feed the existing mites on the plant. And we will apply that, I believe, with a just like a clean, unused paintbrush. And then I can dip into the powder, and then you'll rub it on, I believe, the nodes lightly. And that will just keep those the mites that are already on the plant happy if they're not exactly getting enough food from the thrips as well. So we're going to start that process now, and we will get that going. Some of the big things that are kind of important is that we normally want to do this in the morning or at evening. I'm kind of doing this it is currently around 10, but it is spring and it's more of a sunny day and it's in the 70s. So what my plan is I'm going to shut off my grow lights and close the windows for about 1 to 2 hours after or during applying and after, just to make sure that the UV doesn't damage any of the nematodes because they are not big fans of sunlight. But yeah, let's get started. I'll get everything set up and then we will go from there. Okay, so before we get started, I am going to go through and shut off the plant lights and shut the blinds to bring the light levels down for the nematodes. Before we can apply these guys, it is important to make sure all of the plants are watered thoroughly. So I went ahead and watered all of these plants yesterday to make sure the soil is evenly moist. This part is really important because nematodes need moisture to move through the soil and survive. Next, I am going to mix the nematodes into some warm water. The package says to use about 5 to 6 gallons for the entire pack, but I am doing smaller batches, closer to about 2 gallons a time in my watering pot. Once they're mixed, it needs to be used fairly quickly, about within 2 hours, so they don't run out of oxygen in the water. I'm also making sure to keep the mixture moving a bit so they don't settle at the bottom. Once these are mixed in, I'm going to let them sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, stirring and agitating regularly. I am going to start with showing you guys how I am applying the nematodes on a few of my most infested plants. I have here a Thai constellation, a Monstera deliciosa, and a spider plant. You can see one of the mite packets hanging here on my Thai constellation. This allows the mites to slowly release onto the plants to help with the adult thrip situation. I'm going to go ahead and move some of this mixture over to a smaller watering pot for easier use and set up my drainage trays. Then I'm just going to apply this water nematode mixture directly to the top surface of the soil. From what I understand, you do not need a crazy amount for each plant, so I am just saturating that top layer. An extra care detail is that I've been feeding my beneficial mites to help keep their population going. I use a small brush to apply food powder to the nodes of the plants, which helps support them while they're working. And after this, I'll need to keep the soil consistently moist for about 1 to 2 weeks so they can survive and stay active. One thing I'm going to adjust during this time is my care routine. I'm going to have to be watering more, and I won't be using fertilizer or any pest sprays for a few weeks to let the nematodes and beneficial mites acclimate, as these can harm them. And I'm also being careful with my beneficial mites and not spraying the leaves directly where they were applied, and instead I'm just spot treating any visible thrips manually, usually by using a Q-tip with rubbing alcohol to directly remove them. I've really been trying to approach this whole situation in a more intentional, informed way. I tend to research everything pretty heavily before I try it, whether it's a new plant, a care method, or something like this. So this is kind of me putting everything together, trying to build a system that actually works long term. I'm going to go ahead and finish everything up, and then I will check back with you guys with an update. Alright, it is about 3 p.m. and I was able to get the nematodes into all of my plants, and now I just have to clean up. The only plants that I did not add the nematodes to were my succulents back here that didn't really get affected by the thrips. This is my first time using nematodes, so I am really curious to see how it goes. But if you guys have used them before, I would love any tips or feedback, especially if it worked well for you. I would love anything at all. And I'll definitely keep you updated as I start to see results over the next few weeks. My cat is currently trying to get in under the door. Bella! I'm really hoping that this is a turning point in getting everything healthy again. And if you enjoy this more in-depth plant care video type and just kind of going through the process with me, I'd love to have you here, and just let me know what you guys are interested in. Just let me know in the comments if you have any questions or any content that you'd love to see. Thank you so much for being here with me through this process in another planty video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.